Not necessarily. Hope not. Yes, exactly. Good. You don't necessarily, right? Now, one more thing, probably the most important one is, do you think AI will take over your job? Yeah, AI will definitely help. Now, I actually find that the more AI is coming for emails, DMs, etc., the easier it's going to make it for us because that's absolutely irreplaceable, right? So, absolutely fucking not. Now, let's get to it. What the hell are you going to learn today? So, I'm going to teach you the exact system that me, my team, and 1,500 reps have been trained on to build pipeline. The idea is that you will make some good money, which is the reason why most people are here. Obviously, we want to help people as well, but making money is nice, right? But I'm warning you right away, I'm an honest man. I will also sell you a solution to all these problems at the end. First of all, let's do some learning, shall we? Now, some of the challenges, someone asked how long it is. I'll try to make it an hour, 90 minutes max. We booked 2.5 hours just to be sure. I'm Italian, I talk a lot. The challenge is, so you dread cold calling. A lot of you guys will do this. You're gonna be dreading cold calling. Your script is gonna feel awkward. You'll freeze when you hear no interest or any objections, right? That happens to all of us. You're Googling, that happened to me, careers after sales. What am I gonna do if this doesn't work out? And then you see colleagues smash it. You're like, this guy's an idiot. Why is he getting it right and I can't? Again, I've been there. And your boss is giving you tips that don't fucking work, right? Again, been there, done that. None of this is your fault, I promise. You actually just don't have the system, which is what we're going to talk about today. Now, the first one is we're going to talk about is mindset and preparation. I want you guys to have the right prep to go into it. We're going to discuss the cold call opener formula. You probably know me, a lot of you know me for this. We're going to talk about the problem-based pitch, and we're going to discuss the PACE framework for objections. And finally, something that I don't usually discuss, we're going to talk about the triple close to book the meetings. Now, before I get into it, I want to make sure you listen to me. Does it work? You know what, guys? No, it's all a lie. It's a scheme. It's a coaching scam. Or is it? There's actually Ben is in the audience. He's one of my best students. He cold called himself into a job. And it's like someone taught him the rules of the game. He's a British guy. Then a next student of mine is a Swiss guy that he became exceptionally good SDR. Then Brian is a guy that runs a cold calling agency in the US, and all of the reps use my framework. And then Leo, who's our French recruiter. Different industries, different countries, the exact same system. Now, again, why should you listen to me? You shouldn't. Instead, I want you to be as skeptical as you can. And I want you to try to apply just one thing. Try to think about one of the things you learned today. If it works though, you might have to start listening to me. That's all I'm asking. Now, again, very briefly, brief story. This was me when I graduated and I started my sales career. Philosophy graduate, who would have thought? And I can tell you guys, I didn't have a clue what sales was. 1 year later, I almost got fired 2 times. Honestly, with this haircut, I probably would fire myself, but you know, that's what happens. Then 3 years later, I was given a Ferrari as a corporate car, right? Because I was hitting $300,000 a month with my team. If you don't believe this, just Google my name and Ferrari. The company post is still online. Now, then I was bored. I was making loads of money, bored. I was like, you know what? I'm going to start my business. And now I'm on my way to build $1 million business a year. Not quite there yet, but I'm very close. Now, how did I do this? Am I a genius with crazy memory? No, sorry. So how? How did I do it? First of all, I wasn't very good. I was an Italian that talked too fucking much all the time. I also wasn't very coachable. That's why I got almost fired twice. However, I did really like psychology. And I was really obsessed with the idea of rising. I was son of 2 nurses. We were not doing very well when I was a kid. So I was like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm not going to be giving up that easily. But mainly, I just did a lot of fucking cold calls. Okay. And before I go there, I'm going to do something a bit cheesy, but I'm going to ask you questions. How many sales trainers do you think still cold call? Does anyone ever thought about this? Very few, exactly. Jeb Blount, author of Fanatical Prospecting? No. Josh Brown? No. Daniel G? No. Grant Cardone? No. Jeremy Limana didn't put him here. He reviews a lot of cold calls, but does he? And what typically happens is this, which is exactly the problem that you guys have been facing. So the final thing, obviously, is that I don't just cold call, I also coach people how to do it. So I walk the talk. Now, final thing, I promise I'm almost stop talking about myself, then we get to you guys. So I built a sales team of 40 people that were making $4 million USD per year. I have over 360,000 followers and 30 million views. You can take a look. My stuff works. That's why people watch it. I consulted and trained at 30 companies, and I've trained over 1,500 reps directly. Again, you don't have to trust me. Google me. Ask Claude. Ask Claude. I asked the other day. It's great. Ask Claude, is Julian a decent trainer? Does he fucking know what he's talking about? Right. So what are you going to get today? If you apply even half, you're going to cut your hang-ups by 60%. You're going to double your meetings booked. You're going to turn objections into meetings. You're going to not get ghosted. Very important, because there's nothing worse than booking them in and then don't fucking show up. And also, you're going to not dread cold calling. A little bit less. I can't promise it's going to be entirely going away. Let's fucking do this. One more time. We're going to go mindset, cold call opener formula, problem-based pitch, objection handling, triple close. Now, the final thing, when you see this, it means I'm asking you guys a question. The more you engage, the more you're practicing the skill set. So please do. It's not for me. I don't give a shit. I can just talk to myself. I don't hear you guys. But this will get you to practice and to debate in the comments. Now, enough. Let's get started. So what we're going to cover is outcomes, cold reluctance, solutions, and tricks. What's the worst thing that's ever going to happen if you make a cold call? And if anyone has ever heard of anyone dying, please let me know. Oh, the FBI called them. That's good. I like that. That's a good cold call, to be honest. We will talk about that later. Okay, so it's not going to be that bad, right? What's the best thing that could happen? Die of shame. What's the best thing that could happen? You close. Yes, someone said find your wife. I love that. There's a lady on, I can't remember her name, but she once called a guy, or cold DM'd the guy actually, and the guy turned out to be her husband. So yeah, you can build friendship, you find friends, and you make some money, right? So the potential, it's unlimited. Now, if there's such a high reward, why is it that we hate it so much? Does anyone know why is our brain hates it so much? What's the problem with that? We overthink it because of rejection. Humans don't like rejections. Yes, our brain is wired against rejection. This is the answer. Because when we used to live in caves and our brain hasn't evolved, right? If you were rejected by the tribe, you would be dead. That's it. It was more dangerous than fighting a fucking tiger. And then again, we were taught from kids not to talk to strangers. There's a bunch of things, but the major thing is we hate rejection. So you need to be aware is to rewire your brain. Now, can anyone tell me, what do you think is, if you're okay, how many times are you gonna hang up on a percentage at your opener? What percentage would that be? Even if you're pretty good. 6, 7, 70%. Ooh, 80%. No, okay, guys, look. Once you're done today, you're gonna be getting, like, a good cold caller is gonna get hung up on 20% of the time. If you're in the US or it's a really difficult market, you're gonna get hung up on 30% of the time once you practice the openers we discussed today, okay? Now, and how often do you think that converts into a conversation? And by the way, for all those asking, US most difficult, UK second, everyone else is easy. Sorry, guys. You think you got it hard, you don't. So after time, 30%. So around, look, depends how good is your list, etc. You convert at least 30% of those into conversations, right? So this means that even the best cold callers are not gonna get a conversation more often than 25 to 40% of the time. That means that you need to get into the mindset that you are going to get rejected and you just need to power through it, okay? Now, some solutions. Number one, and I can't stress enough, build a fucking good list. I see a lot of you talking about gatekeepers. If you can, build a list. Use Full and Rich. It's what I use. They pay me good money, but it's also fucking really good. Try it. You can try for 29 bucks. You buy the mobile numbers, you skip the gatekeepers entirely, right? Then once you got the mobile numbers, you also make sure are they relevant? Don't call fucking Australia if you're gonna go sell them something that only works in the US. Don't call Africa to sell them a heating system, right? Find the relevant people, and then that will reduce the rejection first of all. Secondly, you're gonna time fucking block, okay? You want to have a time block in your calendar, ideally in the morning, every bloody day, at least 3 times a week if you can't do every day. Then you're gonna role play, ideally with another human. If you really can't, we'll discuss later a solution to that as well, but you talk to someone else, you get yourself playing, okay? Anything else that you guys use that you think is gonna make rejection be a little bit less annoying? Role play with Claude, exactly. By the way, a bunch of you guys asked, like, honestly, there's very few things. We found Full and Rich data for bloody physiotherapists. It works. One rejection was like, oh, someone knows me. Fuck, okay, you stole one of my tricks. Okay, goes the rejection, very good. Being funny, Giuliano Masserli music, fuck, yes, good, good. Okay, let's talk a little bit about tricks I use myself, okay? Number one, the rejection target, which some of you guys told. Before you start, you're gonna write a post-it and you're gonna decide the amount of rejections you will face this session. And you will not stop until that happens. So every rejection gets you a little bit closer to feeling, okay, I'm doing my job today. Number two, and this is my favorite, Arnold knew it. So I have a pack of almonds here. I'll put the amount of almonds of rejections I want to have that day. Every single time I get rejection, I'm gonna eat. The funny thing is that after a few weeks, your brain starts to rewrite how it works. So you'll associate rejection with calories and it works. It's crazy. Then smiling and laughing, have Giuliano Masserelli, have a funny video, it doesn't matter, something that's gonna pump you up whenever you get really bad rejections. And then, yeah, you'll get fat, guys. If you get fat, it's not me, sorry guys, find some, use a half an almond. Then this is the most important for those of you that really, really struggle. Don't try to do 2 hours of cold calling today. It's like if you're overweight and you wanna lose a ton of weight, you don't just stop eating. That's stupid as fuck. You just chisel down the food and you do the same. So you decide tomorrow I'm gonna do one call, that's it. The day after you do 3, the day after you do 5. Eventually you build a habit. So that's what I recommend to do in order to get over that fear as much as possible. Now, I'm gonna make this particularly difficult for you guys and I'm gonna give you a complete reframe. That's probably gonna be a bit painful, but let's hear it.
Hello?
Would you reward my honesty if I openly told you this is a cold call?
Going to be brutally honest with you. I am having treatment for cancer and I am not working at the moment.
Oh, shit.
So, sorry. No.
Do not be sorry. Jesus Christ. I'm the one that's sorry I cold called you.
No. I would love to be able to work, but I can't.
You sound like a fighter. I'm confident you'll beat it.
Thank you.
Good luck.
All right.
Bye-bye. One day you might beg for the opportunity to do the job that right now you hate. Remember that.
So, you feeling like calling yet? You see, we think our job is that bad. One day you might really want to be doing that job, okay? Good, so quick recap. You're not gonna die. The upside is massive and rejection is a fundamental part of the game. Now, I wanna ask you a question and I want you to think about it for a second. If you're now 20% less scared, You're going to have that video in the background. You're going to have your Giuliano Massari, whatever. What is that going to be different for you? And I want you to, every single step of the training, you think about this. What am I going to do about this? How am I going to apply this? Okay? Good. Let's move to the cold call opener. So, what are we going to talk about today? We're going to discuss psychology. We're going to discuss ingredients of the opener. We're going to discuss some examples, of course, and we're going to talk about tone. So, first of all, your phone is ringing. You don't know what it is. What's going on through your brain? You see a random number, you're wondering, what the hell is going on? Oh shit, mate. Was this scam, spam bills, scam, iPhone text, man? Yeah, who died? Fuck. Okay, that's the worst case scenario. Right. The point is that you start on the back foot. It's negative, so we need to rewire that as quickly as possible, right? Does anyone know what reactance theory is? The crazy ex-stalker. Okay, so reactance theory is basically the theory that says that, well, it's a psychological proven theory that the more we fight against someone's freedom, the more they fight back. So we want as much as possible to be helping them feeling as free as possible, because that's when people relax. And that's a lot of what we're going to be discussing today, psychology-based selling, okay? So we want to make sure we address the fact that we're coming out of nowhere. We want to make them feel as free and in control as possible. And then how are we going to trigger curiosity? And a bunch of you already said it, to be honest. And it's pattern interrupts, okay? So we just don't want to sound like everybody else. This is crucial. We want to sound like we are not the typical salesperson. So their brain doesn't go into autopilot, okay? Now, so we want to be clear and direct. We want to be permission-based. So we're going to ask permission, because that gives them the freedom, and it's going to be the first time we get a yes in the call that builds up on the rest. And then we're going to stand the fuck out. Okay? Now, is everyone ready for the first example? Perfect. So, good morning. My name is Julia. I'm calling from Analytical Sales. How are you? We are not going to fucking use that ever again. Okay? You're going to sound like everyone else. It's fake politeness, and it's entirely about you. I am doing this. Oh, it's so great. Blah, blah, blah. One little caveat. If you're working in Europe or you work in Nordics, so European countries, you want to introduce yourself, otherwise they're going to ask. UK, US, Dubai, fuck that, no one cares, right? Now, the first one, you guys know this already, but I'm going to go through it again. Good morning, name. Would I completely ruin your Tuesday evening if I mention this is a sales call? It's best. Works really well for C-levels that get a lot of calls, right? So people that get a lot of calls, they are tired of them. So that's going to work. If you work in a super niche industry, don't use this. It's pointless. But people that get a lot of them, then you want to use it. And it's going to feel a bit making them laugh, right? If they laugh, you're in. You're no longer a salesperson. One mantra is it's very easy to reject a salesperson. It's very hard to reject a human. And also do this only if it's the same native language. So if you're calling to Germany in English, fuck that. It's going to get lost, right? Now, this one is the one that I recommend to almost everyone. It just works quite simply. It's good morning, name. We don't know each other. I'll take 27 seconds. If it's not relevant, I'll hang up myself. Is that fair? Now, this will tend to work with most people because you don't mention sales calls. It's very non-threatening and you're giving them the highest level of freedom. You won't even need to hang up. I'm going to hang up myself, right? And again, I quite like this, especially if you're calling managers, directors, or people that don't usually get a lot of calls, but it's a mutual one. It tends to work across the board. Now, this is my favorite, but it requires a bit of mastery. Good morning, John. I'm hoping you can help me. You're one of 12 CTOs working for tech companies in New York. we would love to have as clients. Can you help me understand if it's relevant? Now, this out of all the ones, my clients all use this. Some of them use would I ruin your day, but that's only for specific niches. Think about it. You're asking for help, right? Then you're telling them it's very specific. So you're not a guy calling from Vodafone. It's very specific B2B call, and you ask for help again. You also flatter them a bit. People like that shit. It's built in your brain. So this literally works in any type of audience, unless maybe the one I would avoid is if it's the really if you're calling plumbers, things like that. They are very direct, and skip this. Any B2B high level call, perfect. Okay. Now, I'm going to give you, of course, an example. Now, this is one of my older calls, but you can see what happens if the person says no to the permission-based opener.
Hello? We don't know each other. If I mentioned this is a cold call, would you throw your phone out the window?
Probably, yeah.
Because of my voice, or you just hate cold calls?
I don't take cold calls normally.
What about the good ones?
Go on, get to the point. What are you trying to tell me?
Well, if I said it, get brought in by managing director to train teams, probably going to tell me you got the best cold callers in the country already.
No, carry on.
Is it more that they don't make enough calls, or don't deal with objections when they do?
People are still very nervous of picking up the phone, and I like more practical, I like actually getting on with it and doing it, making a few mistakes and learning from those mistakes.
Like a cold calling trainer that cold calls you?
Yeah.
Are you at the point that you're accepting that's the way things are, or are you still looking for solutions?
We're still looking for solutions.
Would you be against having a 30-minute sit-down next week?
Okay. You've had my attention for 9 minutes, which is very unusual. No, we don't even take the call, so.
3:30 on Tuesday.
Yeah, 3 o'clock's fine.
I'm going to drop an email shortly.
Okay, lovely. Not a problem.
Thank you very much. You have a great...
Simple. They say no. You say, is that because you hate sales calls or just my voice? They say, oh no, I hate sales calls. What about the good ones? Boom. And then this is the cheat, right? People think you use permission and you're fucked. No, unless they hang up, you still got time. And that's how you do it, okay? Now, final thing on the opener, why does it matter? Why is the tone of the opener so important, or the tone of the cold call? Why is that so important? But this was a UK call, guys. So first impression sets the tone. Actually, this share energy, but actually, yeah, people can hear you through phone. Like, okay, this is Alexander. Alexander, you know psychology. I like you. So, guys, the tone is the only available body language on a phone call, and the body language is more important than the actual content. So your tone matters a lot. So the better your tone is, the stronger you're going to be. Now, obviously, how are you going to improve the tone? Because that's going to be the hard part to do. Just talking about, oh, okay, yeah, get a better tone, guys. Practice, yeah. Anything else? Smile, yes. Polite tone, no. Are you fuck that? We don't. Look, one advice I'm going to give you guys is don't try to put a tone on. You know, you're going to go into your head. You're going to try, oh, let me try and be polite. Fuck that. Just be yourself, but smile. That works. You can stand up. If you hear me now, my voice comes across better already. You know, you dress good, you feel good, all these things, whatever. The point is, however, is practice is the best way to get this right. So unfortunately, you're going to have to make some fucking cold calls. Now, let's recap. Stand out and be clear. Ask for permission. Practice, practice, practice. And again, I'm going to ask you a question. If you're going to reduce your hang up just by 50%, what is that going to mean? And how is it that you're going to achieve this based on this specific training? So try to think, what am I going to take on what we just discussed? And I'm going to put it together. By the way, guys, I see a bunch of people asking questions. If you want, you can type in the Q&A, so I'll have a list of them later, otherwise they'll be lost, and then I'll try to answer as many as possible at the end. Good. Now, the pitch. We're going to talk today about psychology, of course, the framework, examples, and then again, we're going to, modern practice, I'm going to show you an example, sorry. So what's every person's favorite topic? No, it's themselves. Whoever said money, me. Yes, 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 yes. Everyone only cares about me. The only reason you're here is because you hope I'm going to get you to make more money. You wouldn't be here just because I've got a fucking yellow thing on and I'm funny. You're here because you want to be here because it's going to help you. However, that's the funny part. So why the fuck do the pitch sounds like this? Right? Why is it that we make it all about us? Right? Because again, that's the problem. We are obsessed with ourselves, right? So let's go back to psychology. The brain is driven by two things, either moving out towards pleasure or moving away from pain. Which one is the most important for the brain? I mean, pain. Yes, good. So we want to move away from pain. In B2B sales, 99% of deals are closed because there's a problem to be fixed, right? Now, final question. We make decisions rationally or emotionally? Emotionally. Right, and I'm going to prove this to you in 2 seconds. This is the reason why you all justify to yourself why you stayed longer than you should have had with your toxic ex. Right, because your emotions override your rationale. This is also the reason why you buy shit on Amazon that you don't fucking need. Because you're like, oh my God, that looks cool, let me buy it. And then later you're like, oh shit, I didn't need that. Right? Because your rationale takes way longer to catch up. Now, what does this mean? We need to focus on them, their problems, and we need to trigger emotions. How? Before I give you the framework, we're going to talk a little bit more about psychology. So what do you think is the most important persuasion principle? If someone has heard about Cialdini, this would be the right time to do it. What are the persuasion principles? Timing, not as much. So how do we persuade people? What are the things that help? Priming, yeah, kind of. Reason aura. Solutions, magic. Look, let me take this very simple. Whenever you're about to buy something on Amazon, what's the first thing you look at? Reviews of price, reviews, but it's usually reviews, right? I mean, if do things at the same price, you're gonna look at reviews. Sometimes you look at the reviews. If something has got a low price but shitty reviews, you're gonna buy the thing with better reviews. So persuasion is about social proof above all, okay? So from now on, you're gonna start all of your pitches like this. We speak to 200 to 300 CTOs in software companies in Chicago every quarter. And all of a sudden you're telling them, boom, this person knows exactly who I am and why they're talking to me, okay? Now, we wanna gain their trust. Now, this is a difficult question to answer, but I'm gonna give you the most practical example ever. So AA meetings, right, they're built to let the most vulnerable people on the planet discuss their deepest problems. And what does it work? Has anyone ever seen in movies? Hopefully you haven't been yourself, but why is it so easy for them to share? What is it that they all have in common? They can relate. Exactly, they all have the same problems. So this is going to be the part, we speak to these guys, they're all working around the clock, they're all working very hard, but they've got these problems. And now we're going to give them a problem statement. And this is probably the most important part of the whole cold call. The problem statement is got to be passing the coffee machine test, I call it. So you got to think about when they are at the coffee machine with their colleagues bitching, how are they talking about the problem? That's how you want to phrase the problem. So the more it sounds like their language, the more likely they are to resonate with that problem, okay? Now, so this means you're going to go, they run into 20 problems, they got this problem in consequence, right? So I'm going to give you a practical example in a second. Now, the yes trap. So what a lot of salespeople will do at this point will be like, do you have these problems? Right? And the problem with that is they remember, fuck, this person is about to sell me something. And they get a bit more defensive. We, again, are going against their freedom. Instead, we're going to do a slight sidestep. We're going to say, Is that somewhat relevant, or do you already have the magic formula? Or do you already have the best cold callers in the country, right? And in this case, you see, like, I used to just go directly, do you have the best cold callers in the country? But that's a bit challenging. Now, this is more psychologically accurate. I tweak it and it works better. And why I learned this? Because I'm cold calling. Now, let me give you a practical example. This is a call from last month. Oh, no. Yes.
Good morning.
5 weeks ago.
This is actually a sales call, but a well-targeted one. Can I take 26.9 seconds to explain why?
For sure, go for it.
I talk to a bunch of head of sales enablement daily, and typically there's one problem that's recurring. 35 to 70% of them aren't hitting quota. Is that something on your radar at all, or have you got the magic formula for this already?
I think we're lucky that it's less of a problem for us than maybe in some other businesses.
There was one area of training I would like to focus on.
Outbound.
If I mention that I'm specifically a sales trainer that focuses on cold calling and outbound, would that be something that's somewhat more relevant to discuss a bit further?
But happy to have a sit down at the beginning of Q2.
I'm more than happy to do that, as long as this is not a polite way to tell me to go away.
It's not.
If you don't
We can
shop,
have
I'm going to haunt you forever, just so you know.
Valid. Very valid. Yeah, let's do the first.
Have a good day.
Thanks, bye.
Boom, baby.
Okay, another example. You deliver the pitch, some objections. We'll talk about objections in a second, but that's just to give you an idea. Is it somewhat relevant or not? Okay. Now, quick recap. You're going to leverage social proof, speak to 200 to 300. You're going to focus on them and their problems. You will not talk about ourselves. We will at one point, but we'll talk about it in the closing. And you're going to make it low pressure for them to engage back with you. Okay. This is the easiest way to build a pitch that resonates. By the way, important, like, I don't say we have clients. I don't say we work with. I say we speak to, because that basically puts us as a consultant. I'm a consultant who knows about the problem. I'm not just coming here to blah, blah, blah. It's just a one-on-one directly than doing differently, okay? Now, if you will get 50% of your prospect to listen, right? How much more pipeline are you going to get? And again, that's what you guys want to focus on as much as possible. And by the way, out of all the people I ever coach, the pitch, nailing the pitch, is the thing that immediately is going to get them to have way more conversations. Okay, so that's what you need to focus on and try to nail it as much as possible. Somebody asked about pre-qualification. Interesting. Like, if you are qualifying for problems, everything else doesn't matter as much. If the problem is big enough, they'll find the budget, they'll speak to the right person, they'll get out their meetings, they'll book the right time, whatever. It's always trying to find the size of the problem, right? This, when I asked the lady earlier, if there was one thing you would pick, what is it? Outbound. Fuck yeah, thank you. Love to hear that, right? And that's how you know you can move forward. Okay, so objection handling. Now, this is probably, before was the most important, the pitch. This is the hardest part of cold calling, because this will take, you can't just write down a good pitch and it's going to be boom, done. You need to actually have a really fucking good pitch. A really good practice to objection handling. So what we're going to go through is psychology, of course, the framework, a ton of examples, and then I'm going to throw some examples back at you as well. So why do prospects give out objections? What do you think is the reason for that? Lack of trust, the defense, fear. What else? They hate cold calls. They want to get rid of you, smoke screens. Yes, very good, very good. So there's a combination, guys, right? There are some times it'll be a genuine thing. Sometimes it will not be, right? But the point is, prospects will give out objections, period, right? And we just need to embrace it as part of the game. Sometimes, by the way, some of you say they don't trust you, etc. Sometimes it's about what you've done, but sometimes it's about them. Sometimes you're genuinely catching them in a meeting. There's this thing people say, oh, people don't pick up the phones instead of a meeting. That's bullshit. I pick up the phone after getting out of the shower. You know, some people pick up the phones at all times. So some objections are genuine, some are not. Our job is to qualify and challenge, right? And again, yeah, a lot of time this will be an automatic reaction. It's like if you're walking down the street and someone is coming to you, like, actually, I'm gonna give you the most practical example ever. Imagine you're walking down the street, you got your headset on, someone is coming to stop you. Your immediate reaction is gonna be, no, no, no. And has it ever happened to you, this person is like, you drop your fucking wallet or something, and then you're the most embarrassed person on the planet because you're like, shit, this person was trying to help me, but your immediate reaction is, no, go away, right? It's the same, to give you a stupid example, it's the same way why ladies, to protect themselves, will say, I've got a boyfriend, immediately. Because they don't know if you're going to be some fucking creepy bastard. And therefore, they're defending themselves. Prospects are the same, right? So, at this point, how are we gonna lower their tension? So they gave us an objection, right? We need to lower their tension immediately. What's the best way of doing that? Nice, someone, humor and knowledge. Like, look, guys, actually, you see me and you think, oh, fuck, I should use humor all the time. No, humor only works if the person, if you really nail it, the person likes humor, etc. The first thing you do is you're gonna accept whatever they told you, right? So you're gonna acknowledge what they said, because that immediately takes the fight out. So the first two steps, you're gonna pause and you're gonna acknowledge. You can validate, acknowledge, similar thing, right? Ideally, we're gonna use a label. It sounds like, it feels like, right? So that's the first two steps. That's, hopefully a lot of you do this, right? Now, what do you think most salespeople do at this point? They're gonna go, yeah, I hear you. And what comes next? Overpitch, yeah, I hear you, but. Now, can I please have a very honest hand raising of how many of you said yes, but to your wife or partner ended up sleeping on the couch? Yeah, season B, exactly, right? Why? Because it doesn't work. You can't acknowledge, right, and then just say but. It's just gonna make the other person feel unheard, and it just really makes them feel bad. So you're actually having the worst case scenario. Now, this is the secret trick. You guys have seen it in videos, and this is one of the hardest things to teach to people because there's a resistance to it. So we acknowledge them. Now, we're not gonna say but. We wanna lower the tension further, right? What you're gonna do now? If you watch my videos, you should know, but no joke, no validate. I mean, validate is another form of knowledge. That's not wrong, Robert, but no. Ask a question. Yes, ask. You're gonna be, hey, can I ask you a question? Or can I ask one last question if they're really pissed? Now, this works because, again, we're giving them freedom. And exactly like the opener, you're getting another yes out of them, right? Can I ask you a cheesy question? Can I ask a direct, for the Americans here, can I ask a direct question? Dubai, can I ask a direct question? Like, and the thing is, because this is like so polite, I play a game with all the teams I train, and I tell them the first day, I was like, hey guys, if any of you gets told no more than twice in a week, I'll buy pizza for the whole team. And I've never bought anyone pizza because it works all the fucking time, right? So we're gonna pause, we're gonna acknowledge, and we're gonna be, can I ask you a question now? Can I ask you a direct question? Can I ask a redirect question? I don't want to offend you, okay? Now, how do we change someone's mind? Ooh, Michele, very good. Oh, Michelle, sorry. Challenge, make them think it's their own idea, make them manifest. Very good, okay? You do not change anyone's mind, only they can, right? Do you believe in faith? Maybe you can try that. Now, how are we gonna change someone's mind and making them think it's their idea? We're not gonna solution, we're not gonna hypnotize them, we're not gonna educate them. Socratic questioning. Yeah, we're not gonna send them $100. We're gonna accept them, exactly. We're gonna ask them a fucking question because we just said we're gonna do so. So statements are about you, questions are about them, okay? Now, what is Socratic questioning? We'll get to that in a second, Ayush. Now, so the last step, we're gonna engage them. We want something that's gonna make them think, okay? Now, you're gonna think, does it fucking work? Well, let's see, shall we?
Good morning.
Am I totally gonna ruin the start of your week if I mention this is a sales call?
Depends if you're selling anything good.
I'm a sales trainer, but you might tell me now, your salespeople are so good they can even beat Jet2holiday.
I mean, my team are pretty good.
Pretty good. Why not perfect?
I don't think you can help, but I do appreciate the call.
Can I ask one last question before I go?
Sure.
So when you mention your sales team is pretty good, does that mean you don't think that their overall sales calls could be improved?
Of course they could.
Would you want someone like a sales trainer to tell you whether it could be done?
My experience in the past, it hasn't worked particularly well.
Can I ask one last question and then I promise I'll go?
Sure.
Have you ever had a sales trainer keep you on the phone this long after all the objections you gave him?
No.
You wouldn't even be curious to find out how they might look for your team.
What would you do different than other sales trainers?
I'm happy to jump on a quick call. If you think it's rubbish, you'll never hear my Italian accent again.
Okay, fine.
Friday afternoon.
Fine.
Perfect.
Okay, excellent. All right.
Boom, right? I didn't make a single statement. It's just questions. But don't get me wrong, I might be thinking about it, but I am just asking it as a question, right? Instead of saying like, well, we see teams that they go get better calls, blah, blah, blah. I just like, so are you telling me your sales team calls can't even be done better? That's the logic, right? You want to try and get them to think like, fuck, maybe I haven't thought about this well enough, right? And I just go back into asking questions, okay? Now, I'm going to give you some evergreen responses. So these work with almost every objection, okay? The first one, this is the simplest one. You pitch the problems and then you're going to repeat the objection and you're going to go back to the problems because often the objection is a smokescreen, okay? So when you say you don't have budget, does that mean that then you don't have a problems with not having enough leads? Is that the case, right? Or does that mean you don't have a problem with your SEOs? Or does that mean you don't have a problem with your recruitment processes, right? So you just go back. So does that mean when you say you've got someone that does this already for you, does that mean you don't have this problem? You get them to think a little bit more deeply, okay? So that's this. I typically recommend this as the first step for all the objections. First, make sure it's not a smokescreen. Go back and they'll give you more information. Now, this is probably my favorite question. And it's literally, what do you mean by that? I've got someone that does this. What do you mean by that? I don't have budget. What do you mean by that? I don't, coming back in 6 months. What do you mean by that? I'm not ready for it. What do you mean by that? Then you add more information to ask the next question, okay? And you keep them involved. Now, this is how you saw me book the meeting in the 2 calls ago. If there's one thing you could improve on this area, what would it be? And sometimes this is a really good question for discovery calls, by the way, as well. When you ask this, then you get the person to give you the area that they need the most, right? So there's one thing you could improve. What would that be? So if you don't want to learn 1,000 objection responses or 1,000 good questions, although you will need to, this is a good place to start, okay? Now I'm going to give you a couple more examples. So we've got a supplier, we do it in-house. This is very common. Now I'm going to pause 2 seconds. It sounds like you're taking care of this already. Important, you always use a label. It sounds, it feels, it seems, because that's the way they're most psychologically powerful to diffuse the tension. Can I ask a question about that? And then you can go with something like, so if there's a better option, you wouldn't even want to take a look. You want to pause. Robert, that was a good question. Why pause after the objection? Because that gives the time for your brain to breathe, but also for them to understand that you really listen. If you just speak immediately, it gets them on the guard up. Don't you guys hate when you're speaking and the other person is talking almost on top of you? That's the same logic, right? So 2 seconds, by the way, it's like bam, bam, beat, and then you're going again. Now, if there wasn't a better option, you wouldn't even take a look, right? Secondly, and this, I love this one. So when you say you've got a supplier, so does that mean you decided to never look at outside options again? And people will be like, No, I'm not saying that. Okay, if you were to look at something, what would you look for? What would you want to improve? And again, I'm getting them to give me the information to have the pitch. And that's how you're gonna go through it, okay? Now, another example, we don't have budget, the classic one. Again, pause, acknowledge. It sounds like money's tight right now. Can I ask you a question about that? And again, you're gonna hit them with something like, does that mean you never reallocated budget for a specific project? This is very powerful because businesses always have money. This is the bullshit. Like, oh, I don't have budget. Yes, you fucking do. It's just the CFO didn't put it under this specific bracket when they done the planning. It doesn't mean there's no money. It just means they haven't acknowledged it, right? So you just need to be, oh, so you never move budget around for a project? And they'll be like, whoa, yeah, we have. Okay, what were the conditions to do that? Or what do you mean by that? And so have you calculated the cost of things carrying on as they are, right? So this is something else. Like, oh, someone, like, I love this sometimes when I get it, like, oh, you know, like, our business isn't doing well, but we don't have budget for training. And I'm like, sorry, hang on a second. So you're telling me that you don't have money for the very same thing that will help you generate more money? And then they're like, yeah, that sounds a bit ironic. Yeah, exactly. Right? Someone said I work with a friend. Is that, and I like that, when you say a friend, is that more like a forced marriage, a roommate situation, or is it your wife? You know, you can make it fun if they go with something like that. Now, sorry guys, there's no recording, by the way. This is one go. You guys got to take notes. It's important. Now, so the point is, re-engage and get them thinking. As long as you get them thinking, you're on the right track. Let's recap. You're going to welcome objections. You're going to acknowledge them. You're going to seek permission before engaging. Can I ask you a question? You're going to ask smart and targeted questions. If you can now counter even one more objection, what's going to change, right? That's what you guys want to think about, right? If there's even one, the most important one, how are you going to challenge that, right? That, and this is a tip for everyone. Don't try to learn all the objections in one go. Just try to learn the one that you're up in the most, and then you go for the next, and then you go for the next. And in 3 months, you mastered all the fucking objections. That's how you want to do it, okay? Good. Now, there's a few more guys add into the questions. We'll do a Q&A at the very end of everything. Closing. Again, we're going to talk about psychology. We're going to talk about the process. We're going to talk about the triple close. We're going to talk about locking the close. So, first of all, what are the buying signals? How do we know someone is prime and they want to book a meeting with us? Curiosity. Yes, they start to agree. So actually, there's two main things you need to watch and listen for. They ask you for more information. The moment they start to ask questions, you remember the guy said, what would you do differently? I'm like, why don't we set up a call? So with the moment they start asking questions is one, or very important is when they are very emotional. If they're frustrated, they're angry, they're excited, all of these are good sign. Look, it sounds like it's relevant. And then you go for the close. Now, when I talk about the inner gatekeeper, does anyone know what I mean by that? Like the inner gatekeeper the prospect has. Not the inner bitch. Not the receptionist. Now, this is something they have in self-protect, right? The gatekeeper, the subconscious. Yeah, so this is the part that realizes, because they talked about their problems, right? If you start selling, they're going to get their guard up again. And this is, by the way, and you all know this, you've done a great fucking cold call. And then at one point, you go for the close and they're like, send me an email. Oh, actually, maybe it's not the right time. Oh, I'm not the right person. Their tone changes. You know you fucked up something, you don't know what that is. And that's exactly what we're going to fix once and for all today. So Now you're gonna have to sell a little bit. How are we gonna go about doing that? Does anyone got any ideas? Selling without triggering the inner gatekeeper. So yeah, pain point to USP, curiosity, boom, great. You actually nailed it, right? So we're gonna talk about the closing process now. First of all, you're gonna summarize. This is fucking important. There's nothing worse than someone is told you everything about the business and you just go like, hey, let me offer you this. No, you're gonna summarize. Let me see if I got this right. And I'm gonna start listing things down. An example, and apply this, if you're having an argument with your partner, try to summarize things back to them. They will actually be so much more relaxed after that. Now, you're thinking like, you're not gonna close yet. You're gonna start with what I like to call the pre-close. And I'm gonna go, look, can I ask one last very direct question? And then they always agree at this point. And then I'm gonna be, have you accepted that's the way things are? You've seen it in the first call. Have you accepted this the way things are? And then they go like, well, no, of course not. So you close the first time to tell them, hey, I'm interested. Because they haven't accepted this way things are. Now, and this is the only time you're allowed to pitch. If I told you that we can, and then you're gonna pitch exactly based on the problem. If I told you that we can fix your rating on Google by implementing keywords with a blah, 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 whatever, and that will mean you're gonna get on the first page in 3 weeks, would it be a terrible idea to discuss it further? Again, I'm not proposing a meeting, I'm just saying, would it be a terrible idea to discuss it further? It's a no-frame question, not feel safer, right? So I pre-close them, and now I'm gonna pitch close them, and then I'm gonna close it. Okay, is it better to speak this or that? Simple. Okay, now we're not done yet, because this, if you just do this, you're still gonna get a bunch of people not showing up. Now, you're gonna first make sure that invite doesn't land in fucking spam, right? And you use this excuse, look, spam filters are crazy, did the invite land? So you're gonna send the invite there and then. And then you're gonna be like, do you mind accepting? So it'll pop out in your calendar. So you're gonna, again, you close them one more time, you're gonna get in another micro commitment. Then, if the call was too short, especially for for US, when your calls are short, right? Once you booked it, go back to the problems, because Americans agree faster to meetings, but then they forget why they agreed. So you're gonna go back to the problems. Look, before we go, I wanna make sure we have good meetings. Can I ask a couple more questions? Can I ask one last question about that? And you go back to the problem, because that'll make it more emotional, more likely to attend. Then, and this is the close, is there any reason that comes Tuesday, you're gonna decide to not show up, and I'm gonna be there wondering, what the hell have I done wrong in my life? So again, you close them one more time. So when they wake up on Tuesday and they think like, oh, I wanna get the fuck out, I wanna get the fuck out of this meeting, they'll be like, oh, but I agreed one more time. So you see, like, you're literally getting so many agreements from their side. And then, and this is most missed, is the agenda. You're then gonna send a clearly tailored agenda. I had plenty of CEOs, my clients tell me, if you don't send me a fucking agenda, I will not be attending the meeting, because I know you haven't done the fucking homework. So you're gonna recap what's discussed and you're gonna send it as that. Now, just to recap, you're gonna summarize, you're gonna challenge one more time, and you're gonna micro pitch, and you're gonna close and secure close, right? And guys, I don't have an example because I always cut this out on my calls. But next time I'll bring a proper one, because I need to make everything 1 minute. That takes a minute on its own. Now, how many meetings you lost because you haven't, by the way, I put a lot of things here. Even if you had one, that's gonna bring your sat rate up by 5%, right? So, but I would say if you had to pick, have you accepted the way things are? Would it be a bad idea? You close and then you give them the one last reason. Hey, is there any reason you're not gonna show up? And automatically, you're gonna have access to the rest, okay? Which means like you wanna get the point where you make it silly for the prospect to not show up because they give you so many yeses, and then they'll feel like they're betraying themselves because they agreed to it. Okay? Good. Now, can I ask you a really direct question? If you apply even 30%, how much simpler will cold calling be for you? And how many of you are probably not going to do that? And that's the hard part will be to put this into practice. Now, because again, I'm a trainer, I want to make sure you guys got it. What the fuck did you learn? Right, so we're going to do a recap, and I'm going to show you a little proof for every single time so you guys get a clear idea. So you're not going to die. Mindset. The upside is massive. Rejection is part of the game. You just need to work past it. This is actually Franco, one of the guys in the academy, that literally was struggling all the time and then got a little bit of success. Mindset went much better. Opener. You're going to stand out and be clear. You're going to ask for permission. You're going to practice the shit out of it. Okay? This Martin is a guy that was struggling a lot with getting even to the pitch. Again, reworked his opener. And guess what? People are not hanging up on him anymore. Right? Then we talked about the pitch. You're going to leverage social proof. You're going to focus on them and their problems. You're going to make it low pressure for them to engage. Again, the problem is, this was a guy that Enzo used to do a lot of cold calls and book a lot of meetings 10 years ago, and then he struggled, and then he said, fuck, I just need a new pitch, because his pitch was all about himself, which used to work. Then objections. You're going to welcome objections. You're going to seek permission before engaging. You're going to ask smart and targeted questions. Another example, this is Nikita, a guy that works for Revolut. And he kept getting the email objection. Then he just started asking like, well, have you ever had an email that was better than a conversation? And guess what? People